This is Trophy, the Scoundrel's Quarter, Part 6. We have a brand new group of treasure hunters that started a Trophy Dark incursion called the Tomb of 10,000 Dreams. We are picking up with that straight away with Ring 3. Fitful Dreams. Jeffrin, Nevin, and Torum are together. Tekla has split up from the group. And the last we saw Tekla, she had discovered some like a statuary garden that is a clue that she's on the right path to finding these ruins, this burial site of King Argil Seo. The other three of you, especially without Tekla, who seems to be like the knowledgeable person in the group, are a little stranded in the woods. And you eventually have to stop and make camp. There's just no avoiding it, especially because right now Jeffrin is magically compelled to walk on a painful ankle. So I have to imagine Jeffrin is advocating for stopping and making camp. Just a guess. I don't know. I don't want to deprotagonize you, Ben, but that's my thought. And so camp. You are sitting around the fire, processing what's been going on, perhaps. And I think, well, I am curious. Jeffrin, what are you thinking right now, given everything you've been through?
He is very much regretting helping Nevin. Very much regretting vouching for Tekla, and definitely considering when an opportunity arises how he will take advantage of it.
Indeed. Torm, what are your thoughts right now as you're sitting around the fire?
This hasn't gone ideally, but there's still opportunity here. There's still opportunity to get to where we need to go. In fact, if Tekla stays away, that's less of a share we have to split.
And yet, Nevin, Tekla is the only person who really knows where to go. And so the rest of you just have sort of an idea, a general direction in which to head. Tekla has all the details, the landmarks, the things to look out for. Nevin, what are you feeling right now?
I think as soon as we start to set up camp, Nevin is actually going to go up to Jeffrin and like sort of try to assist him into getting into a more comfortable position. And she'll look up to him and go, "How are you feeling?"
How do you imagine I'm feeling, Nevin?
"I apologize for doing that. We just could not afford to carry you."
With all
And
of those brilliant ideas of yours, it didn't occur that you could compel me to not feel the pain.
I can only make one compulsion at once. Getting us here was the more important one. But here, let me. And she'll attempt to sort of like dress and stabilize the ankle as best as she can. She's obviously not a surgeon or a doctor in any way, but you know, with sort of a remedial knowledge of the way bodies work, I think she'll just find a couple of twigs or something and tear off a scrap of her cape and try to like bind it.
That is something.
Coram, the Caldur is the sort of place that people tell their children stories about in order to keep their children from entering the woods for any reason. These stories usually involve spirits, monsters, the equivalent of urban legends, I suppose, in the world of Trophy. What tales were you told as a child to keep you from entering the forest? Or what tales do you tell people even now just to get a rise out of them, say? Tell us a ghost story.
I've always heard, and perhaps I tell stories
And to be
that
clear, just before you get too far, are you telling this story to the others around the campfire?
I think, yeah,
Okay.
I think that not much to do but tell stories right now. And I always heard the story that deep in the woods, in a clearing, that if you're lost, you can't help but come across. There stands a door, just a door, upright, nothing surrounding it, no walls. If you go through the door, you come back eventually, but you come back different. You come back with a certain drive, a hunger, even. And the only thing that can satiate that hunger is blood, death, evil. You might think, oh, well, I just won't go through the door. But the door itself is a calling. The door itself compels you to open it, to see what's on the other side. So be careful if you get lost in the woods. You may come across this door and, well, it might get you too.
Tekla, you have let the time get away from you. And so you're just spending the evening by yourself among these statues of dead god king advisors and priests and viziers and counselors, among the headstones, among the ruins. But at one point, you see just outside the cemetery a door freestanding between a pair of trees. It is a big, heavy wooden door. The hinges don't appear to be attached to anything, and it's not clear where the door leads except just the other side of the trees. And yet there it is.
Well, that is unusual. It looks far too modern in style to be an old Kalduri door. But I suppose there is no compulsion for a dream to be consistent. And Tekla will step toward the door and step through.
We'll just pause at you stepping toward the door. Nevin, have you heard any stories? Are there any stories you were told as a child to avoid the Kaldor?
There was one. It was sort of a folk tale that was not only to warn us about the woods, but to warn us about greed in general. There was rumors of a fountain here that whose waters contain the secret to eternal life. And there were a pair of hunters who went to the woods looking for this place. And they came upon a manor, but it had been overcome by nature, by the forest itself. It was in ruins. But the fountain itself was perfect. And so they harvested as much water as their water skins could carry. But it was late, and they knew that they would have to wait until dawn to travel back. They were also very hungry, and they had a hare with them. They had done as they do with hare to prepare it, skin it, and butcher it for an evening meal. It was satisfying, and one of the men decided to finish the dinner with some of that water that he had found from the fountain, while the other one decided to stick with his own wine, wanting to preserve the water for later. In the morning, the one who had drunk the wine woke up to the sound of shrieking and tearing. He turned to see his companion, his torso, his gut had been torn open, and resting in that pit that was his stomach was some creature, small but skinless and pieced together. It looked to be perhaps the size of a hare, and it frolicked off back into the forest, bloody and content.
Tekla, you do step through the door, and on the other side of the door, just standing there in the forest, there is a marble water fountain. It is a little overgrown. It depicts a rabbit up on its hind legs. What do you do?
Tekla walks toward it and, brushing some of the growth away from the rabbit, she kind of strokes its cheek, and then bends down to take a sip from the water.
Jeffrin, were you ever told any tales to keep you out of the woods?
Out of the woods, no, but there are many a time in the mines waiting for something to be lowered down or someone to get raised up that we have to entertain ourselves, and stories are plentiful. And there's quite a famous one of a group of miners trapped underneath the salt mines in Amberette, and the lengths that they had to go to just to survive another day, hoping for rescue. And that they devised a system of straws to determine who would be next to lose something they'd rather not lose to help the others survive. And as the survivors dwindled and the the resources grew smaller, the straws kept getting shorter. And it's said that even now, wandering the mines, you will find these short little straws and hear scratching like bone on rock.
Tekla, as you drink the water and brush a bit of moss from the rabbit statue's cheek, the rabbit says to you, "Everyone must feed. It's eat or be eaten out there. You always want to be the one doing the eating." Make a risk or a ruin roll, please. Don't know if the die roller's working, but
No, sorry, I just didn't have it open yet. I'm just doing it now.
okay.
5. So my ruin goes up.
I think it does if you're at 4.
Yep.
The rabbit says, "The best time to catch prey is when it's sleeping. Trust me, I know. The others are sleeping right now. Best to take care of that before they decide to eat you."
When it is sleeping, or when it bends down to drink.
You can drink here as much as you'd like. I'm no harm to you. I'm only a bearer of messages and wisdom. Eat or be eaten.
I will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Tekla, the fact does remain that the others are trying to reach the same place you are. They might be looking for you, or they might not. But in any case, there's a chance that they're going to get there first. In any
Not if
case,
Tekla, not
you
if
do.
Tekla keeps moving.
That is true. Not if you keep moving. You can certainly do that. No rest for the determined. Stories told, pain tended to, sleep descending. I don't think you even set a watch. Or if you did, that person is also asleep. You shall each sleep and have vivid nightmares. 3 of you. Each of you gets a question. Nevin, what nightmare from your childhood still terrorizes your dreams?
It's dark here, and there's the acrid scent of burning and charcoal flooding her nostrils, and she opens her eyes. She's a girl again, and she is in the charcoal district, toiling away with her family, mother, father, siblings, all of whom are covered in this black smoky dust. And she looks down at her fingers and sees her fingernails are just caked in work and labor. And she hears a familiar sound, a voice barking orders. It's the foreman of this particular pit, and he's not very fond of Nevin and her family. In particular, Nevin, she seems too precious for this work. And so when she breaks something that she's not supposed to break, she can feel the pressure, the heat of his voice upon her. And I think as this shadow of him, not even him, but like the shadow, the presence of him approaches her, she holds on to herself, shuts her eyes, and there's a moment where her eyes open and she sees the face of her husband, bulging eyes and blackened lips right in front of her, floating above her. She covers her mouth to stifle a scream and just keeps her eyes locked into his, not wanting to shut her eyes, because if she does, who knows what will happen to her.
And indeed, when you are shaken from your sleep because of the nightmare and catching your breath, you see those eyes floating right above your face. Make a ruin roll.
That is a 2.
Keeping it together, just a phantasm of the night. Perhaps they go away, these eyes, they disappear. Are you starting to have a feeling that this forest is working its way on you?
I think it's certainly drawing a level of guilt out that she wasn't expecting.
Jeffrin, which of the other treasure hunters betrays you in the dream you're having right now? And how do they do it?
The obvious answer would be Nevin, and I think in the dream he's expecting it. He's waiting for Nevin to twist the knife somehow, but it's not. It's Torum. And Torum, in that kind of dream logic, Torum takes not his own eye, but Jeffrin's eye, and uses it to show the way ahead or to make sure that the passage ahead is safe, and it isn't. And when it isn't safe, well, he needs something more from Jeffrin just to make sure danger is gone. And Jeffrin can't fight because he's being compelled to keep going no matter what.
And I think when you wake up briefly from your nightmare, see the others sleeping, you actually see Torum's eye moving around Torum's horizontal body independently, the nerve stem flopping around like a tail. Make a ruin roll.
5.
Are you going up then?
I am.
How are you feeling right now?
Paranoia is beginning to creep in.
Torum, what landmark encountered on this journey so far reappears in your dream, and how do you know now that it was a bad omen? And this could be a landmark that we didn't actually see in play.
There was a moment when we came across the remains of an animal, a deer, perhaps something caught and mostly eaten. It's, or at least what's left of its intestines, were just sort of splayed across the ground. And reading the innards of this creature, I had assumed we were going in the right direction. At least that's what the blood had told me. It said, "What you seek is on your path." But now I'm dreaming that the path has changed, that it's leading us somewhere we don't want to go, leading us back into the forest, far, far away from the entrance to this temple, these ruins that we're trying to find, and leading us away from ourselves, from our goals. Yeah.
Torum, you wake up. And you see a statue of, it's unclear exactly what, just a vague human shape. But definitely a statue, because the skin is uniform in color. It's all uniform in color, and it has the matte look of stone in the dim campfire light. Out of character, we know that things are drawn to Nevin when Nevin closes her eyes. And there's a statue just standing right there by the tree line, just a few feet away from Nevin. It definitely wasn't there before. Please make a ruin roll.
Got a 3.
What are you feeling right now?
Curious.
What do you do?
Statue is, oh, I just wait. I just wait and I watch. I want to see what sort of thing Nevin has called upon herself this time.
So Tekla, you have decided to press forward despite exhaustion, despite fear, despite the urging of the rabbit to guard your flank. So you do? Walking in the night?
I think, yes. One good way to guard one's flank is to move fast enough that your flank is not exposed.
Hmm.
Yeah, so Tekla will press forward.
You leave the statuary garden. You get about, I don't know, pretty good ways, maybe 400 or 500 yards. When you hear, all you've been able to hear is just your footsteps, an occasional humming, which is kind of omnipresent in this forest, as part of the forest, and maybe the flitter of bird wings, like an owl or something. But it's pretty quiet otherwise. But then the drone of noise is broken by the distinct sound of boots crunching on grass or twigs behind you. What do you do?
The rabbit was right. They're following me. I look for a place to hide so that I can see who this is following me and surprise them if need be, rather than being surprised myself.
That's no trouble. You can take up a hiding spot and look. And you see it's one of the statues. Just standing there. A number of hundreds of yards away from the statuary garden, but definitely one of the statues. In a pose of reverence, its arms outstretched. What do you do? I'll make a ruin roll. So let's see if this is the end of you.
Five.
You're okay for now. So what do you do right now?
I step out of hiding and call out, "Hello there," and walk toward the statue and look to see what it is that it's looking up toward, if anything.
You see the rabbit as well, no longer attached to the fountain, but still a stone statue itself. And it says, "You should organize a hunting party."
What is it we're hunting?
Those who would eat.
So the hunted become the hunters.
In a manner of speaking, yes. Give us the word.
It would be most helpful if I were not pursued.
Very well, then. You will find our compensation package most reasonable.
I think Tekla will execute a little curtsy of thank you.
Go ahead and make a reduction roll.
A 6.
Jeffrin, you are literally dreaming about this scene right now. You can see Tekla making a deal with the stone rabbit and the statues. What do you do?
Oh, well, I feel like I want to be on the right side of this. If I'm to make it out, uh, so I think in a kind of I'm going to reach out and I'm going to grab the mask with the other spirit in it, and I'm going to say, I'll get you back to your body if you get us in with them. And then
The mask, which speaks to you in your dream, says, well, this is getting to be very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. There's an advanced scout in the camp even now. I recommend you slink off into the darkness. Let the others deal with it.
Jeffrin will agree to that.
Make a reduction roll. I assume you're a 5, right?
I am. That's a
Yeah.
1.
Very good. Torum, you're watching this statue that's hovering over Nevin. You realize quite suddenly, or maybe just now, that Jeffrin's not in his sleeping spot anymore. He has snuck off in the night. When you turn back to look at the statue, it's just a few feet closer to Nevin than it was before. What do you do?
This is a dilemma. My curiosity wants me to just watch and wait and see. But also, I am not so stupid that I think I can make it through this forest by myself. And if Jeffrin's gone, then Nevin's all I have left. So I suppose I should do something about this. And I would like to I'd like to use my carve ritual, which is to alter a creature or object via sorceress subtraction. This statue is sort of a creature and sort of an object, and I would like to cut its face off. Have it fall down onto Nevin to wake Nevin up.
Ah, very good. I like it. Ben, what could go wrong here?
Quite simply, the statue could be denser than you thought, and it will fall on Nevin and injure Nevin, and now you have another person who is at a disadvantage.
Do you have a relevant skill here, Torum?
Surgery.
Okay, I'll take it. And Rob, you can make the devil's bargain.
I was thinking that no matter what this subtraction reveals under the statue's face is something you recognize.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I'm super into this too. I think it should have something to do with the cult of Darawan. Okay, good. 2 light dice and dark die for the ritual. Go ahead.
Light 6.
Light 6, very good. You will save Nevin. Give us a scene. What does it look like?
The ritual itself is just a matter of concentration. It's imagining if I had a little knife, an extremely sharp knife, and I was very carefully just making my way around the face of this statue. It's like cutting the face off of a person. It's the same thing, just a little denser. And as the face shifts and falls onto Nevin for a moment, I see underneath the face of a young acolyte from my prior priesthood, a young man, very handsome, who was very charming. He had a gift of omens, a gift of knowledge, a gift of speaking with powers beyond what we knew. But he wouldn't ask the questions I wanted him to ask. He wouldn't do the things I wanted him to do. I have an ability to take away small pieces of people. So I took away a small piece of him, just enough that he could still, for a short time, speak to the powers beyond, and just enough that he didn't really have much control over himself anymore. Unfortunately, he did perish shortly after. But I got my answers, and I know that I know what I have to do is resurrect this cult. And so I will.
Make a ruin roll.
A 2.
Very good. Nevin, you wake up. You see this faceless statue standing atop you or over you. And you see Torum there as well. You don't see Jeffrin. What do you do?
I think when she feels the mask sort of smack her in the face, she finally comes to, and when her eyes open, she finally doesn't see the face of her husband. And there's a very brief sense of relief. She scurries out from underneath this floating statue and towards the fire, and then stands and sees Torm there, and then notices that Jeffrin's not there. And she goes to him and says, where did he go? Jeffrin, where is he?
Seems like it's just us now.
He couldn't have gotten far.
Are you suggesting you want to tromp through the forest looking for him? In the dark.
Nevin looks around and realizes that the light barely extends probably about 5 feet beyond from where it is, and it's just pitch black in the perimeter. And she turns back to Torm and says, perhaps it is best that we stick together, just the two of us then. If he wants to go off into that, then by all means.
From what I hear, the forest has a way of bringing people back together, should that be necessary, or within the forest's power, or within its interest. So perhaps we'll see our friends again.
She,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go on.
Jeffrin, perhaps when you were taking the mask piece out or putting it back into your pack, but in any case, as you're basically going to where Tekla is, you find something in your pack that someone, a loved one, put into your pack before the journey began, the journey from Umbaret. What do you find, and how does it remind you of either home or of your drive?
I think it's a small little horse figurine. It is something that he has had. It once belonged to his parents before he was unfortunately left at the orphanage. And it is something that he's always kept with him. And wherever that is, that's home. And so he knows it must have been left by the one he shares his life with. but he hates to see it here because this is not home. This is not where he will remain.
Very good. Just as night descended quickly, so does morning. Tekla, before you are able to learn the results of the hunt, Jeffrin, before you're able to reach Tekla, Nevin and Torum, before you're able to fall back asleep. It is dawn, and yet you can hear the cries of owls, frogs, and other night animals still. And that concludes Ring 3 of the incursion. Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. Ring 4. The forest begins to wake. Tekla, there are black beetles crawling all over the statue with the hands raised up. The rabbit says, "There's an interloper here. Someone wishes to communicate with you." And as these beetles crawl all over the statue speaks. It doesn't move or animate, it just talks. That's how the rabbit does too. It says, "Hello, do you remember me? Do you recognize my voice? I was rather regrettably and violently accosted by you and your colleagues yesterday. And now here I am, interceding on one of their behalves. Isn't that really something?"
If I remember rightly, it was you and your colleagues that did the accosting.
No, my colleagues and I. Now that I say it like that, that's really rather a funny way to put it. I was merely trying to make your acquaintance. Sorry, we. And the beetles are very thick now around the statue. Your former colleague, Jeffrin, is going to come find you soon. And Jeffrin very much would like to be on your side of the ledger, on your side of the counter, as it were. And I am here to intercede on his behalf. But what I think would be even more interesting is if, when Jeffrin makes his entreaty, you grab that half mask he has in his pack and take me with you to the tomb of King Argiel Seo, or rather, let me take you to it. You're close. I know where it is.
I know I'm close. What is in it for me if I take you there?
We are repositories of memory. We feast, we eat, and we remember. I would love to share that knowledge with you.
I am always eager to learn.
If Jeffrin doesn't make it much further than this, I think that's okay as well.
It is of no concern to me.
Nor should it be. Perhaps you would like to seal our pact, memorialize our agreement.
How would I do that?
Open wide. Meanwhile, and Tekla, I do want you to make a Bruin roll right now as well.
Four.
You're okay. So Nevin and Torum, are you just gonna like get going then? Looking for this tomb?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at least Nevin is. She's very determined to get out of this camp first and foremost because of everything that was happening last night. And despite the fact that we've lost our guide and we've lost one of the more physical members of the party, we still have our own wits and our own power. And I think that we can get out of here.
We don't know where to go. We don't know what direction we need to go in. We need to develop a plan. I would like to try and look around for some omens that are pointing us in the right direction.
Interesting.
Forest will help us out, right?
Sure. What if I told you there was another group just ahead of you in the forest? They're having their morning victuals.
How many people are in that group?
6.
Nevin,
You can hear them.
should we sneak up on these people? If they have any maps, if they have any... I don't know.
Perhaps you could, I don't know, send a hand and see if you could scout ahead with it to steal something, if they do have something of value.
I would like to try that.
Interesting. But just the hand.
I think we're going to have to sneak up so
Yeah,
that I
okay.
can see where my hand is going. Yeah.
You can get close enough, the two of you. You see a group of people sitting around their fire eating breakfast. Their faces are turned away from you or down, but Nevin, they are undeniably covered in black coal dust from head to toe.
I think even more upsetting is also the scent that's wafting off of them. It's the scent of sweat and toil and charcoal dust all mixing together. And it's enough to make Nevin audibly gag. And she chokes it back and starts to sort of step away from Torm for a bit.
As you're stepping away, one of the people says, without turning to you, they say to you, "We did wrong by you, girl. We know that now."
Who are you?
You know who we are. You can't have forgotten us already.
How did you find me here?
Make a ruin roll.
That's a 4.
What's your current ruin?
My current ruin is 4.
Okay, so you're fine. What do you mean, how did we find you? We've always been there.
Nevin will turn to Torm and say, "This is a trick. This isn't real."
Do I hear any of this?
No. In fact, I think you pretty quickly become aware there's no one there at all, Torum. You just heard noise and now you see nothing. But
It's
clearly,
shadows.
yeah, clearly Nevin is seeing something.
Is this... What are you seeing, Nevin? This could be the omen we are looking for.
People, other hunters, They claim to know me. I don't know them.
Do they have lanterns or a map or anything to indicate which direction we need
No,
to
they don't
go?
have any of that. This is just trickery. This is all illusion. This is all fantasy. We just need to keep going.
We could not see before. We could not see your true worth. But now we can see. And then they turn to show you that they have no eyes in their sockets. Their eye sockets are just filled with black coal dust. And they say, we can see very well now. Make another ruin roll.
Yeah. 5. So yes, it does go up.
We may not have lanterns or maps, but we have this. And they set a mining pick down on the ground. Nevin, you don't want him to find what's down below. He's not one of us. You should take care of that. It's very real. Looking at the pick.
Does Torm see it?
Oh, yeah. No, Torm does not see the pick. Not until you grab it.
I think Nevin is more afraid than she is seeing this as an opportunity, and she will start to tug at Torm's shoulder and say, "This is not the way. We need to go."
Don't be such a coward, girl. This is the omen we were seeking.
When
Tell me what you see.
when you just call her girl in that way, barking at her like that, she'll stop and become cold, stoic, and she will go, "They're telling me that we should go ahead, but that you know the way, that I should follow you."
Is this a reduction roll?
Yes.
I'm like, what are you trying to do here, Nevin?
So I'm trying to get him to turn his back on me.
Oh, good. I like it. Make the reduction roll.
All right. That's a 2.
Torm, what do you do? You have no awareness of Nevin's duplicity.
I'm frustrated. Of all the people to get stuck with, it's this little girl who clearly is useless. Very well. And I'm going to turn in whatever direction my spirit is calling me to turn to, and I am going to start walking.
And as soon as he's just far enough away and out of sight, she will look at the others who are still seated at their little campfire, which I think is out. It's just embers at this point. And she will kneel down and pick up that pickaxe. And if it's okay with you, Amanda, I would like to try and drive into the back of your skull.
Contest roll.
Yay!
We'll come back to that. I wish I can't see the die roller for whatever reason. I might just create another one so that we're all in the same one together. Because I want to be there for the hunt, for the contest roll. I have to be. For whatever reason, I can't get it to like create the room and let me in. Don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, I'm able to roll, but I can't see anyone else.
Yeah, I can't see anyone else's stuff either. I can only roll. Okay. We'll figure it out. Let's cut over to Jeffrin. Jeffrin. Well, first of all, Tekla, did you take the beetle in your mouth? I'll give you a reduction roll if you do.
Trying to find reasons to not, but I think I have to, don't I?
Make a reduction roll.
One.
You're able to take the beetle in your mouth without Jeffrin being aware of that. Indeed, Jeffrin, you arrive at the camp. You see the statue with its arms thrust up. You see the rabbit statue, too. No sign of the beetles whatsoever. And Tekla. Let's just have that scene.
Jeffrin will come into the little clearing, and he's still got his shovel on his back, and it's still glowing softly. And he'll just see Tekla and lean against the tree and say, "Oh, thank the sisters. The others, they can't be trusted. I've been looking for you for I don't know how long."
I think Tekla doesn't turn immediately because first she holds her hand out toward the statue, and one of the beetles just runs across her palm, up her arm, over her shoulder, up her neck, and into her mouth.
Oh, that does happen. Jeffrin, make a
And
ruin
then-
roll.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's when she's turned away from him. So whether he sees that,
Oh yeah, well that's
I mean,
yeah.
the
I was
reduction roll
letting you
indicated
take.
he didn't.
I was letting you take the beetle from this guy without Jeffrin seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
suggesting, that I'm turned away at that point, and only then.
Oh,
do I
got it.
turn and-
Okay, yeah.
Turn and look toward him. Ah, you found me. Where are the others?
They've made camp, but there's something wrong with them.
In what way?
I don't trust them. They don't know the way, and yet they persist like they do. But you know the way. I know you do. We should go together.
You are right. I do know the way.
And together we'll go.
I suppose so.
Jeffrin, how are you feeling right now? Tekla's behaving strange.
Starting to get a little worried, but hoping that he's made the right choice here.
Tekla, what about that mask?
Jeffrin, do you still have the mask?
I do. I made a bargain with it.
What kind of a bargain did you make?
That I would return him to his body if he helped me find you.
And how are you to find his body?
Same way I found you.
May I see it?
He'll take the mask out of his pack and hold it up, but at a distance.
Tekla will step forward and just put both hands out for him to lay it in.
You've seen it before. It hasn't changed, Tekla. It's the only leverage I have.
Yes, but I have learned something about what we seek since then. It may help if you just let me look at it one more time.
He'll eye Tekla closely, but hold the mask out.
I think she'll take it and put it on.
Isn't that sacrilegious?
Oh, really, Jeffrey? My interest in old Caldera is purely academic. I don't believe in the superstitions that the Calduri ancients held to.
That'll make it easier to get what we need then. Lead the
Yes.
way.
Very good. So you're heading that way. You're wearing the mask currently.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I think you start to hone in really quickly, indeed, on where the entrance to the tomb is. Let's check in with Torum and Nevin in this contest roll. I'm going to pause the recording while we get the die roller situation sorted out. Okay, we're back. After having got a dice roller situation sorted out, let's go ahead and talk about this contest roll. I think this would be a good opportunity to just review that part of the rules really quickly, since contest rolls don't really happen in Trophy Gold. It's more of a Trophy Dark thing. So let's go find that part of the rule set and talk about it. All right.
It's in the bar to the left.
Oh, it is indeed. Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right. When treasure hunters act against each other, compete, or want to inflict harm on each other, first agree what's at stake. Are you trying to? I mean, we know Nevin's trying to kill Torum, but Torum, are you, once you're aware of it, are you going to try to kill Nevin back?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So this is who gets killed or who does not get killed. That is absolutely what's at stake. So the winner, or so the loser will die. Know this. Now that's point one. So stakes are set. Then you gather some dice. One light die if your occupation or background gives you an advantage because of your skills. So Torum, you have blood, deduction, surgery, and omens. I'm not convinced.
I
but
can read the omens in the world.
oh, because you
to
think this
see
whole
if-
thing is an omen, right? Yeah. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
take it. Yeah. Nevin, trickery, I think, is probably enough, and patience and performance. Those get you all there. So you both have one light die. You take another light die for each mark of ruin you have. Nevin, you have 4. Torum, you have 3. So Nevin, you're currently at 5, and Torum, you are at 4. You take 1 dark die if the contest is inherently dangerous. Yes, it is. So it's 5-1 and 4-1. And then as many additional dark dice as you want to risk. So 4-1 and 5-1 and 4-1 are the minimums for respectively for both of you.
And
Once
it's
you
6 is we count the 6s for
count the
win.
6s, and then whoever, if you tie on the 6s, then you count the 5s and so forth.
And for each one that we get as a 1, our ruin goes up.
For each dark die that's a 1, your ruin goes up by 1. Yep.
I have mine.
All right. I've got mine.
I'm gonna do this.
Roll it.
Okay.
I see Nevin's.
Oh, mine should have come up. I rolled a little bit before.
Yeah, Torum says
You
Yeah.
have you.
below.
Oh, I see it. I got it. Okay, so total number of dice staked by Torum are so Torum had 4 light, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Torum did 5 or 4 extra dark
4.
dice, 4 extra dark dice. So 5 dark dice total. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So okay, good. And Nevin, you risked how many extra dark dice?
7.
7. And let's take a look at the last the dark dice here to see how many are, so just see how many 6s there are in general. Torum, I see 1-6. Is that your read?
Yeah, that is correct.
Nevin, I see 2 6s.
Yep.
Nevin is the winner. Nevin, did you get any 1s on your dark dice?
I only got 1-1.
Very good for, yeah, this is a good roll for Nevin. Nevin, your rune goes up by 1, but you will kill Torum. Please describe it.
So Torm, I imagine in his frustration, is stomping off into the wilderness, trying to figure out what these omens that he's been talking about this entire time, what they might have taught him, and what they're saying to him in this moment. Nevin, on the other hand, though, waits a few beats, lets Torm get ahead. She sees the smiling members of this imaginary charcoal district, and she takes her offering, the pickaxe. She takes it in her hand. The shaft of it is covered in soot, and so her hands become black as she does it. And there's a moment where Torm is about to just exclaim something in frustration. You can figure out what, but I think before he even gets a word out edgewise, he just feels a very heavy pressure against the base of his skull as the pickaxe is driven into it. She yanks him down to the ground, yanking the pickaxe out, and he rolls onto his side and then onto his back, dazed, confused, and sees Nevin standing above him, a leg on each side of him. And without word, she just looks down at him coldly, emotionlessly, and takes the pickaxe, swings it again, this time puncturing the side of his head. She draws it out, and she does it over and over until the head is torn from the base of the neck. And she's panting and exhausted by this. She looks up, back at the encampment, and the members of it are gone, but instead her husband, that corpse of him, just eyes bulging in his nightgown. His mouth is agape, and there's this kind of deep, raspy, guttural moan that comes out of his mouth, and she just looks up at him, glaring. And she doesn't say anything, but we get the sense that both of them had it coming.
Torum, do you want to give us your side of the story or show us your last moments in any way?
I think that Jack did a very good job of narrating Torum's last moments. I think as the scene drifts away, we see the viscera and blood and sinews that used to be Torum. And for those of that are familiar with omen reading, we can see the intestines spread, sort of like the deer, pointing the way to where they need to go.
I love it. It's great.
And just as a final note, if I can, I think seeing the kind of human haruspex that is now Torum, she will look and tear open his gut, and she would like to use her door ritual, using him as the passage to get deeper into the woods to find this tomb.
I like it. I don't need you to roll. I like it just as a scene. It's good. Tekla, the beetles are able to get you there pretty quickly to where you need to be, you and Jeffrin. The three of you, really. Well, that's a funny way of putting it. You are... Let's find our spot here. You see the entrance to the tomb, the mouth of it. it actually is almost impossible to miss because it is flanked by two enormous statues that are like 30 feet tall, that stand sentry-like on either side of a very massive doorway. This little kind of structure goes down into the tomb, right? This is just like the little entryway, essentially. And the beetles say, "Here we are." But we didn't get here first. Isn't that a funny thing?
Ah, is that so? And Tekla is whispering or sub-vocalizing to the beetle.
The rabbit is there as well. You just kind of turn a corner and there it is. It says, "The hunting party was surprised to learn that half of its job has already been done. Regrettably, the other half of the quarry escaped."
I assume Jeffrin doesn't
Well,
hear any of this.
No.
Well, nevertheless, it seems we are here before them. I presume, can I just clarify, when the beetle said someone was here first, was he talking about the rabbit?
You're talking about Nevin,
Oh,
but you don't know that. So what are the two of you doing?
Tekla will turn to Jeffrin and say, "We should be cautious. This entranceway, well, it seems so straightforward. And yet, I suspect there may be something untoward at foot."
Yes, of course. And Jeffrin's going to be he's going to be crouched on one knee, trying to tighten the bindings that Nevin had made to try and stabilize his ankle as much as possible. But looking at the opening, will his mining history assist at all in?
Not with the opening, because it's just an entrance, but maybe when you get down inside.
I've been through worse gaps in rock.
Perhaps we should seek some guidance before we go inside.
From whom?
And Tekla just gives a little smile, and she turns toward the statues that are flanking the entranceway. And I would like to use my ritual, lyre, to contact a spirit who can answer any question, but only falsely.
I don't need a roll. I like it well enough, just since there's nothing super at stake at the moment. What do you ask them? I can't believe you've had this in your pocket. You've been talking to statues the whole time. This is just your thing, talking to statues.
Is it safe for us to proceed inside? Is anyone waiting for us?
Can Jeffrin hear the responses as well, or just you?
The intention Tekla has is that Jeffrin can hear the response, yes.
But you don't, but Jeffrin doesn't know that they lie.
Exactly.
Okay, good. The statues speak with a booming voice that kind of fills the whole area because they're big. And they speak in tandem. They say, The resting place of King Argyll Seo has not been trod upon by human boots for an epoch. The resting place of King Argyll Seo has many traps, all of which have rusted and decayed. The resting place of King Argyll Seo is filled with the treasures of the material world, there for your taking.
Ah, well, Jeffrin, that's rather good news, isn't it? And Tekla will gesture for him to precede her into the entranceway.
Jeffrin will smile at Tekla, give a look at the statues and say, know a lot for being immobile, but then get down to start crawling through.
Indeed. Nevin, you're already there. Forum's intestines showed the way, and you followed. I think we see you covered in a combination of coal dust and viscera. Just blackened gore all over your body. Your hair smeared and stuck to your cheeks. Your clothing a ruin. But you are inside the tomb, and it is glorious. There's a stairway behind you, presumably the stairway that you follow and come down into this place if you're taking a more traditional route. But in this chamber that you're in, which is enormous, the ceiling of this chamber is like, it's probably, oh gosh, it's probably like 100 feet high. And there are statues all around it. Massive statues of King Argyll Seo in his various roles: god, rule giver, diplomat, father. A few of them are fully intact, but many of them have fallen and broken over the years. And you do see lots of plant growth and evidence of the ground having shifted over the centuries. You find a few precious stones here and there resting on the tomb floor. But perhaps most tantalizing of all, when you bend down to pick up one of these precious stones, is somewhere behind a pile of impassable rubble is the glint of gold. I don't think Iotho knew about gold. He's only looking for ruins. This is treasure. If you can get to it, that will help you erase your crimes and much more. And you hear, high up above you and behind you, Tekla and Jeffrin coming down those stairs to where you are. This concludes Ring 4. Let's take a 5-minute break. Ring 5. Dreams and Nightmares. All three of you are having visions of your companions or competitors, however you view each other now, raiding the tomb and leaving you behind, penniless and dying. Jeffrin, how did you know it would always come down to this, you being merely a side character in Tekla's story.
Well, the hero never has to go and beg to be let into the team. That's what the other characters do. That's what happens to the fodder.
What an interesting choice of words, because as you are heading down these steps that descend into the tomb, you step on the wrong step. Tekla, you are not entitled to do a reduction roll anymore because you're already at your starting ruin, but I do think, Jeffrin, as you're having this realization about Tekla, you step on that step, which gives, and you hear a mechanism above you engaging, and you might even look back at Tekla at that moment. Tekla, when you realize that there is a trap that Jeffrin has sprung on your behalf, do you act surprised? What does Jeffrin see when Jeffrin looks back at you? You're muted.
He just sees a very neutral expression.
Mm.
No surprise, no gloating, just kind of expectation.
Jeffrin, a piece of the masonry has been disengaged and is falling down on top of you right now. What do you do?
Going to try and dive out of the way.
Dive towards Tekla or deeper into the tomb?
Oh, deeper into the tomb.
Very good. This is going to be a risk roll. Do you have a skill that would help you?
Only thing I can think of is my mining background.
Hmm.
Surely it's not the first
Oh,
time I've had to dodge
yeah,
a rock.
a cave in, right? Yeah, I'm into it. You've got one light die. I think what could go wrong is pretty simple here. You get crushed. But Amanda, perhaps you have a devil's bargain to offer.
No matter what, after this moment, you have the feeling like you are trapped underground.
Yeah, that sounds fitting.
You have 2 light dice and 1 dark die. Go for it.
Dark 6.
Dark 6. Your ruin goes up. I think you just probably tumble down the stairs a bit as you dive forward. Your ruin then goes up to 5, but you're otherwise okay. Just give me the scene.
When he finally comes to rest at the bottom of the stairs, he's going to just lie there looking up and feeling for the first time the weight of the world above him pressing down and waiting. And then he'll tilt his head to see if Tekla is completely cut off, before kind of clambering up to his feet and holding up that glowing shovel, see what he can see.
We'll come back to that in a bit. Nevin, before that happened, you did hear the 2 of them at the top of the stairs. What do you do?
She knows that if they find her, that there's going to be a lot of explaining to do. And I think that the space is it. Did we say that it's like maybe like illuminated by some torchlight or anything like that, or is it completely dark?
There's maybe just like a little bit of light coming in, just because the structure is like a little bit, it's not like a perfect structure, and there's probably gaps and holes and light coming in here and there.
So I think she'll take some of the luster and the light reflecting off of the gold, and she'll pull it, and she's going to try and create a dazzle trap, so that anyone who tries to come in proximity will get confused and disoriented, distracted.
I love that idea. Regrettably, Jeffrin just comes spilling out into the floor.
Well, there we go.
And Jeffrin is prone right now, looking back up, not expecting to see you, Nevin. Nevin, what do you do?
Well,
You got that pick.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to put a lame dog out of their misery. And
Indeed.
I think that she's going to. I think she's like sort of in Terminator mode now. She's cold. She has no emotion. She's on her drive.
This is a contest roll. Jeffrin, once you realize Nevin is trying to kill you, I assume you're going to fight back.
Yes.
This is who lives at the end stakes, who's going to kill the other. Contest rolls are vicious and nasty, and we love them. You get 1 light die if your occupation or background gives you a helpful skill. Here, Nevin, I'm not sure your skills help you here, Nevin, because you're just reacting in the moment. You're muted, Jack.
I was going to try and make a performance roll, but no, I get it.
Jeffrin, what about you?
I'm skilled in death.
I'll take it.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
We'll see how it goes. So it's 0-1 presently. Let's keep going here. 1 light die for each mark of ruin. You both have 5, so that is 5-6. 1 dark die if it's inherently dangerous. That is 5-1 and 6-1, and as many extra dice as you wish.
I'm locked in.
Yeah, I'm good.
Let's roll them up and see what happens. Nevin, how many extra dice did you risk?
7.
Jeffrin, how many extra did you risk?
None.
None. Let's look at 6s. Nevin, you have no
Hey, well, thank
you have no 6s. Jeffrin, how many
6s.
6s do you have?
I have 2.
Jeffrin, you kill Nevin. Describe it.
I think when he sees Nevin, there's a moment of confusion, then relief, and then seeing the look in Nevin's eyes, his own eyes go cold, and that familiar little smile hits his face. And he kind of shakes his head like maybe he always knew this was the way it was going to be. And then he just readies his shovel like a baseball bat. And when Nevin swings that pick, he just swings for Nevin's head. And there's a clang, a crack, and the pick falls shortly by Nevin.
Indeed, it does. And you got 1-1 on the dark dice?
Yes. Yes.
So you go up to 6 ruin. You are also lost. You're not dead necessarily, but you are lost. What does this look like for you?
I think when that happens and the tomb falls quiet, for just a moment, Jeffrin can hear the just whispers of voices in a language he can't recognize, and he feels everything crushing down on him, the weight of the world above, of the history here, of the expectations that they had. And he looks down at his hand, and the shovel is gone, and he's holding a very short straw instead. And he just holds it between his thumb and fingers and pushes it till it snaps, and then he's no longer who he was.
Tekla, the masonry that fell blocked your passage through the stairs. It is more like a large, heavy door bisecting the stairway and your entrance into the tomb. Your only job here was to map the location of the entrance for Iotho. And you've done that. You have it. You can turn back now, accomplish this, and be one of the greatest academics of your age. Who cares what happened to the rest of them? Alternatively, you can try to explore right now. Indeed, you cannot return from the forest and instead become an agent of Patience Davies of the Beatles. And you can stay here and do what Beatles do. Beatles dig.
Oh, I think while Tekla knows, she has every intention of returning the information to Iotho. While she's here, her curiosity cannot be denied. She will certainly do some digging. And now that the others are out of the way, and she's alone in this place, there's nobody to disturb her.
That concludes the Tomb of 10,000 Dreams. We're going to take a 5-minute break. When we come back, please change your screen names to your Trophy Gold characters. See you in a bit. The Scoundrel's Quarter. Deep in the fall. Magda, although you have no way of knowing this, or you have no way of knowing it happened, at the precise moment Nevin buries a pick into Torum's skull, the Scoundrel's Quarter lightens a bit, as if the forest has lost some of its grip on the Scoundrel's Quarter. How do you experience this?
I think I am in the middle of getting ready to leave my little house, my little apartment that I have that's next to the pub that I like. And when I open the door, it's, your standard kind of gray and forest covered day. It smells really mossy and gross in the Scoundrel's Quarter this morning. When I step out, though, that first step that I take onto the stairs, light breaks through, the not just the canopy, but the clouds. And there's a little gust of wind that smells like city. It doesn't smell like forest. I mean, it smells terrible, but in a really nice way. And I think looking around, everybody looks like there's a little less weight on their shoulders. Like the pressure that was just sitting in the back of their skull has lifted a little.
I love it. Malkuth, at the precise moment Jeffrin brains Nevin with a shovel. Oh, and also a note here as well. The Scoundrel's Quarter ruin is now reduced to 3 from 4. Malkuth, at the precise moment that Jeffrin brains Nevin, you too feel this lightness, like the forest is relinquishing some grip on the quarter. How do you experience it?
There's a moment where it smells like rainfall is about to, it's like it's coming, it's on the horizon, and there's this clap of thunder. And there's this rain, but it's got this freshness to it, this cleansing element to it, that as it starts to pour down, the fauna and flora start to retreat back deeper into the woods. And it only lasts for a little bit, but then it goes, and then when the clouds part, the sun is this sort of golden color that shines down on the quarter.
Cassian, at the precise moment, Jeffrin hears that snap. The quarter feels lighter. The ruin has already been reduced down to 2. But what's the final little touch here that lets you know that the forest is not gaining as much traction as you might have hoped in the quarter?
When Cassian wakes up and rolls over on his cot in that apartment of his, that infamous apartment, he can see through the hole in the wall that the city is coming to life. He can hear the sounds of people moving about and starting their days, and he can see the birds flying past that hole in the wall, which is surprising because when he went to sleep, there was no hole in the wall. There was a tree branch protruding through his apartment. And he sighs and puts his feet on the floor and begins to look for a way to cover it up again.
The Scoundrel's Quarter ruin has been reduced to 1. Bana, you've been avoiding the keepers of the bestiary. Theracus has been trying to find you for a number of weeks now, and you always just manage to slip out of his figurative grip. But he's got you now. Comes up to you while you're perhaps sitting in the Pernicious Princess or whatever the bar is called. And what was it called, Amanda?
It is called the Venerable Princess.
The Venerable Princess, yes. Theracus and the rest of the bestiary keepers with their tattoos, they say, Bana, we have been looking for you so that we can transcribe your findings after your, well, to hear it told, Magda's fantastic adventure in Umbaret. And yet I do not see any tattoos on your face or on your hands, and perhaps nowhere on your body. Did you just not encounter any monstrous horrors on your journey? If so, you are truly blessed.
Oh no, we certainly did. And of course, Saint Magda would make the story all about herself. But I can assure you,
Are the tattoos then on Magda's body?
they are not. I took the liberty of putting my own interpretation on your instructions, and I have with me in this volume, and he produces what is not really much of a volume, but a sheaf of loosely held together papers that he has inked, but quite carefully and diligently, pictures and descriptions of the creatures they encountered. The charcoal burners, the merc freaks, and the crypt worm.
Theracus is holding your book with as few fingers as possible as he flips through the paltry sum of pages and says, Bana, do you understand that in the Scoundrel's Quarter, we are a superstitious people? We have our traditions, we have our rites, we have our way of doing things. And that way of doing things is why we are all able to be here, even today, as treasure hunters, with life and limb intact, with the quarter unbothered by the King's Guard, by no fewer treasure hunters than is absolutely necessary succumbing to the horrors of the forest. And when people don't want to follow the tradition, it disrupts things, Bana. You took on a sacred responsibility.
And yet you cannot deny my companions and I, even the aforementioned Saint Magda, made quite a success of our trip to Amberette.
Oh, yes, I've heard the stories already about how much silver you've been able to squirrel away. It has not gone unnoticed by people who notice such things. Ah, what a shame then that you do not understand the sacrifices, the traditions that got you to that point. How unfortunate that you would turn up your nose at our ancient way of doing things here in the Scoundrel's Quarter and document your discoveries on parchment.
It seemed the more modern thing to do.
They pass the book. He passes the book back to Undead Horrors. Undead Horrors. Not sure if there's an undead horror in there or not. Passes it off to graves, crypts, and tombs. And they will transcribe as needed. Thrakas says, I am not pleased, Benar. I am affronted. Yes. Effrontery is afoot. What are you going to do to make this right?
The information and the riches we returned with are not sufficient.
One of the volumes, one of his assistants, the one called Insectoid Horrors, says, 3 sacrifices have been made to the forest. The Scoundrel's Quarter is safe again. Thrakas says, there, you see that? That's a treasure hunter doing what a treasure hunter is supposed to do, so that we might all prosper.
I have no greater wish than that the citizens of the Scoundrel's Quarter prosper, of course.
I'll see you at Hester Day. And he leaves. Hester Day is being celebrated presently. The great yearly feast in honor of Saint Hester of the Full Table. Everyone in the Scoundrel's Quarter chips in a little gold to lay out a lavish public banquet, presided over by a sculpture of the saint herself, rendered in rich yellow butter. The quarter is alive with activity. There are no children in bear costumes to accost you during Hester Day. Thank goodness. But there's plenty of food. There's plenty of merriment. And at the end of Hester Day, there's a little, how should we call it, tradition, whereby someone hides a gourd somewhere in the quarter, and whoever finds the gourd gets the statue of Saint Hester. So much butter. A fantastic prize. How do we see the 4 of you celebrating Hester Day?
Magda is drinking and singing and trying to make friends. She absolutely is going to join in the search for the gourd. She wants that butter statue. It would be wonderful in her little apartment above the goat pen. And the goats would love it too. See, everyone wins. I need to win it.
I think we see Bernard drinking with the organizers of this hunt, because he was, of course, instrumental in supplying them with the butter they needed in order to make the statue. He's not taking part in the search himself.
I think Cassian's just going about his business, not partaking at all. But as he is, I think actually, as he's looking for supplies to fix up his apartment, he finds this gourd just sitting between a couple of bricks and just kind of scoffs and walks away with it from it.
In contrast to Magda, Malkuth is somber. He's seated off to probably like a bench that's further away from like the main concentration of people. But he sort of just has his head in his beer and is looking down at it, and you get the sense that he feels what a link has been broken in the chain, and he's dealing with that.
Indeed. Literally broken. Snapped, you might say. I think the four of you perhaps don't hang out often in the quarter, but you're here together for Hester Day because all the various teams of treasure hunters kind of come together for contests and things. The statue of Saint Hester, rendered in rich golden butter, depicted as she is traditionally depicted. Arms crossed, holding a shaft of wheat in one hand and a sickle in the other. Stands on a dais around which has been placed a variety of gourds in seasonal colors. Orange, gold, yellow. A bit of controversy about whether deep purple counts as a fall color. Nevertheless, deep purple, that person won that argument. People are laughing and celebrating. There's a lot of talk about the missing, who's going to win the butter statue, right? And then the path seer, a group of path seers, comes up on the dais. They have an announcement to make. The path seers, of course, are the blind priests who do prophecies for treasure hunters to tell them where to go to seek treasure. That's how you learned about the Temple of the Peerless Star. Their track record is pretty good. The head of their order, his eyes covered with a cloth. He says, announcing to the assemblage, it's late in the day, this year's Hester Day. We have something special to reveal to you, to tell you all. The Pathseers have learned. We have learned of a legend long forgotten. Those who hear the legend can find within it the path to riches. We will share this knowledge with whoever can find the gourd. You will win not just the fabulous prize of butter, but of the promise of history. Groups of treasure hunters don't normally take the gourd thing very seriously. Who wants all that fucking butter to deal with? But this time they are. Where is the gourd? We're going to find it because we want the butter, okay, but we want this story from the Pathseers. Is your team going to enter the contest?
I've already signed us up.
Indeed. Very
I think
well,
as
then.
soon as he heard the word history, Bernard would realize that Magda would be interested and probably seek her out. Yeah.
Cassian, you know where the gourd is.
Yeah. I think he'll just kind of slip away for some time and then return and just hold it out to Magda.
Yeah, she's in the middle of like lifting up boxes and garbage and pieces of just cloth. Terrible places that nobody would hide a gourd.
Yeah, Cassian, you had that. So then what? Magda, you have the gourd.
Yeah, yelling and shouting and singing the beginnings of a song called Magda and the Giant Butter Woman. And yeah, just bringing the gourd up, hands raised as if I, found it in a wonderful and clever chase, to the path seekers. Path
There's a
seekers? Is that what they're called?
Pathseers.
Seers.
There's a cheer that goes up from the assembled crowd. Yay! You see some of the rival treasure hunter bands shake their heads in disappointment, and somebody breaks out into a round of Magda and the Starlight Serpent, perhaps to the chagrin of the rest of the group, and you have it. You have won your prize. Malkuth, what are you gonna do with all this butter?
He looks at it and I honestly doesn't know, but there's some complimentary bread that's on a nearby table, and he'll just take up one of these slices and just scoop off some of her shin. It's good butter.
Indeed, indeed.
I'm going to arrange to have one of the hands of Saint Hester sent to Amaret to my fiance. I don't know his name, so it's going to be tricky, but
Indeed, yeah. I love it. I love it. Cassian, we can do with all this butter. Your share.
He's gonna sell it.
Turn it around. But I mean, butter probably is a pretty good commodity. But now, what are you gonna do with your share of the butter?
Oh, I think Bernard had an arrangement ready to kind of sell it back to some of the people he bought it from. So there was he was almost trading on the future price of this butter, and now that it's in such high demand, he can turn it around for a small profit.
Later in the evening, the four of you are invited into the smoky alley of the Pathseers. You see the stone there. You see the Pathseers assembled. And one of the Pathseers, one of the priestesses, or a priestess, you don't recognize her actually. She has very fiery red hair, and she looks much younger than Pathseers normally are. But she's got the whole cloth business around her face. And she says, "Ah, I see you are the lucky recipients of our knowledge."
we won the butter too.
Very well then. And she begins to relay her story. The story is about a region little traveled to in modern times called Torrens Bend. Many years ago, Torrens Bend was ruled by a usurper lord who called himself Galdrin. Lord Galdrin was a heretic and routinely defied the teachings of the sisters, going so far as to mock Hester, saint of the harvest and of the full table, and at the time, the most revered figure in Torrens Bend. The people of the small village of Hester's Mill, said to be extreme religious fanatics in the histories, rose up against Lord Galdrin and overthrew him, burning down his keep and murdering his soldiers. The sisters, and St. Hester in particular, were so appalled by the brutality of the people of Hester's Mill, they laid a curse upon all of Torrens Bend, which caused the land to fallow and the village of Hester's Mill to wither away. Now, in recent years, Torrens Bend has recovered. It's growing again. In fact, it's quite overgrown. But the lands themselves remain uninhabited because people, well, we're a superstitious people. People are too superstitious to go there, to live there, because of the terrible history of the region. And the Pathseer says, "But I have seen riches. There are many, many forgotten and abandoned treasures, hidden, buried, in the long-forgotten village of Hester's Mill. Go there and seek your fortune, treasure hunters." And she recedes into the smoke. And the path is laid before you. And so, what do the four of you do?
I ensure that my portion of the butter statue gets delivered to my apartment above the goat pen. And of course, the piece that I'm sending to my fiance gets sent. And I get ready for another adventure. Get my stuff together and all that.
Malkuth's load is light, so I don't think there's much need for preparation, though I think he's been spending a little bit of time trying to convince Kazian that butter would be a nice condiment to have in the apartment that they're currently sharing. But Malkuth also understands that this is not his apartment. He's just staying here until he gets his own place, and so he doesn't belabor the point too much. But yeah, I think he's still pretty somber. He's still pretty down about what happened to Jeffrin, even though he doesn't know the gory details. He knows something is wrong, but he knows that he's here to do a job and is going to get ready to do that job.
Cassian doesn't require much preparation either. He'll just get his things together, close up the apartment, and I think he'll spend a bit of time at the edge of the forest making an entreaty to the old one to protect them and guide them. And maybe he'll leave a little bit of butter just as a small offering.
Bernard will just ensure that his hoard is safe in the hands of the innkeeper who he's entrusting to take care of it. And I think wait somewhat expectantly for a visit from the Sorry, what's the leader of the tattoo?
Oh,
people called again?
Thrakus. Yeah.
Thrakus, yes.
Yes. Thrakus will come to you. He'll find you wherever you're at. And he'll say, Bana, I gather you are getting ready to head out on this secret incursion that the Pathseers have revealed to you and your colleagues. Are you going to be assuming the role of the Keeper of the Bestiary once again? A little branch of our organization. How might we call you? A subsidiary.
If you wish to entrust me with the duty, I will be delighted to. But
have you given any thought to what we discussed in a very, very bilateral way last time about how you are going to keep track of the creatures you find?
It seems to me that despite my alleged disrespect for your sacred duty, here you are again at my door, asking for my services.
No, we do not ask for your services. We ask you to contribute to the record, as everyone in the quarter does, Bana.
Of course, and that is a duty I take extremely seriously.
So seriously that you do not maintain our traditions, but nevertheless, I've come to impress upon you that you must impress upon yourself pictures of the creatures you find, preferably with ink and needle.
Well, we shall see. I believe my acquaintance Malkuth is familiar with the decorative arts of the body. Perhaps he may be of some assistance.
Perhaps he will.
In any respect, rest assured that my diligence in acquiring the knowledge of the diverse creatures of this realm will be second to none.
Very well. Oh, and one other thing as well. We already have a crypt worm. We're going to need another name for that beast in particular.
I see.
Surely you can come up with something more poetic or more descriptive.
How does the mirror serpent strike you?
No, that's
Do you
better.
have one of those?
No, I don't think so. I'll have to check with amphibian and reptilian horrors. All right. I'm not thrilled with Merc Freak either, truth be told, but it is not my position to say.
I was rather pleased with that one myself.
I'm sure you were. All right, then. And he leaves. And so, we'll fast forward to all of you heading out. Map maker. You're going to be heading in the direction of the Torrent River, which is just south of Fort Doran, in fact. The bend, the so-called Torrance Bend, is it's that little bit that's sort of right. If you'll notice there's like three like dark splotches right above the tidal Torrent River. Just to the left of that, there's a little notch between forest, river, and those lakes. You see that there?
Yep.
That is where you're headed. That is the land of Torrance Bend. Not as nearly as long a journey as last time, but much more wilderness. Not nearly as well traveled as the route to Amberat. And so we head out. Cassian, how'd it go with that armor? Do you just like wear that out where people can see it in all its
Oh, no.
dazzling glory?
No, it is under his cloak. He is trying to keep a bit of a low profile.
I imagine
He's
you can probably
not
like
wanted.
thrust off your cloak in a dramatic way and reveal your dazzling armor, right? I think that would be fun. Let's find our journey rules real quickly. They're here somewhere. Here we go. The places between. The journey. This land is said to have the countenance of the parent, protective, nurturing, controlling. This region cares deeply about whatever it considers to be its children. It wants the best for you, because parents know best. As you all travel through this land, how do you know? What do you see that makes you think that this is the parent in play?
I think we almost barely have to hunt or forage. We seem to trip over edible plants, and prey animals just almost trip over us.
At night, there are birds and there are bugs, and they make sounds that are reminiscent of lullabies that each of us have heard as children. They all sound different to each of us, but they're all very soothing in that way.
Whenever we
evenings are
make a
warm.
wrong turn, oh, sorry, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, whenever we make a wrong turn, the wind changes and it is so forceful it spins us around into the right direction.
The evenings are warm enough that we barely need a fire. It's quite cozy, almost like we're being tucked into a comforting, warm bed.
Malkuth, one night when you're at camp, perhaps when you're on watch while the others are asleep, you're doing your patrol, and your boot sends a teddy bear skittering along the ground. It's moldered and the seams are busted and it's not in good condition, but it's certainly a stuffed animal. This is the sort of thing that children in general don't really have. Children during work, they don't mess around with trivial things like toys. And yet, the child that's currently watching you from behind the brush certainly likes toys. Let's go to Stars and Wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Yeah, I had never participated in a dark game this dark before. Yeah, no, it's a great incursion, and I just loved how brutal it was, and I was glad to play it with everybody who was very much down for the theme and the vibe, and just really willing to commit to what was happening and not fight it. And so that's my overall star for everything. Individually, I thank you, Amanda, for letting me kill you and then use your body as a means to teleport. That was great. Um, really liked I really liked Rob, your decision to stick around. I thought that for a moment that she would consider going back, but I think that with the beetle and all that stuff, I think that it made sense for her to really succumb to the dream that she was in. Um, and then Jeffrin, I really loved how you were able to tie back your background as part of that chain and being a miner and being underground into a lot of the decisions that you made and a lot of the scenes that you painted. I thought you were really consistent, and it really gave me a good idea of who Jeffrin was, and like that end where you said his smile came back when he was, bludgeoning Nevin to death. That was great. I love that. And then yeah, Wish is I've never played Hester's Mill before, so I'm excited to get into that. I know that's the one that you wrote, right, Jason?
I wrote the Temple of the Peerless Star as well. But
Oh,
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to get into that. I've heard really good things about it, and yeah, just excited.
Yeah, Big Star. I think the one that jumped out at me was all of the prompts that you gave to Jason for the kind of the spooky stories that then fed into what Tekla encountered. That was just fantastic, and I really had fun leaning into her playing along with those elements of spooky stuff. And yeah, Star for just everyone really leaning into all the contests and the backstabbing and backbiting and fighting and pickaxing each other's heads and everything. That was always fun. And yeah, great. I always love playing Trophy Dark, so it was fun to work that in. And yeah, looking forward to Hester's Mill. I don't think I've played it before. I've watched and listened to other people play it, but I don't think I've been in it before.
I've got some stars. One of my notes that I took, it just says, yes, hare's revenge. So I really liked the moment where when the guy in the story drank from the eternal well, it brought the hair in his stomach back to life. That was awesome. That was such a good story. It was so creepy. I liked how everybody was really trying to incorporate all the different themes of the incursion, as well as the different dreams and stories that we were talking about at the beginning, into the rest of the game. And I thought that was a really a lot of fun. The characters were all really sorry, it's been a long day. The characters were all really, I felt, well established, even though it was just, a two shot. I think everybody, I understood why you were there, and I could probably, I mean, as much as you can predict anything in Trophy Dark, if you were faced with a decision, I knew enough about your character to have an idea where you would decide, which is a lot of fun in games like Trophy Dark, because that's where when things go differently than you expect, or the dice say something else, that's when things get really fun. I really loved using Torum's intestines as a door because calling back to the creepy door story, that was so fun. I love that I did not get any ruin points. I did not go up in ruin at all, and I was the first to die. I think that's just wonderful. I love Trophy Dark. It's so much fun. Rob, the way you played this creepy, like, innocent young woman was spectacular. That was so much fun. I really liked Jeffrin's descent into madness, I suppose, is the best way to say that. Like, you could watch it happening every step of the way. I thought that was wonderful. Yeah, I'm excited also to, my wish is to play Hester's Mill. I haven't played it either. I've read through it a few times, so I'm excited to see it in action. I haven't even seen it or listened to it, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
When I last played Trophy Gold, or when I first played Trophy Gold with Jason, I joined the party right after they did Hester's Mill. So it's going to be fun to see how it is from as a player this time and not just a listener. So that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to that. As has previously been mentioned, everyone's characters and their downfalls was great to see. It's a really good thing that Jeffrin didn't see Malkuth using the intestines as a doorway, because like we could have done that first day. That would have made things so much easier. And like knowing Torum, he might have been fine, really. But yeah, that was great. I liked the way everything ended and all the call-ins, and yeah, it was really fun. I like that. I hope we see Tekla again in some form. Maybe Tekla and Patience Davies will show up.
Possibly Jeffrin, right? I mean, like,
Oh yeah, he's not dead.
Not dead. Yeah.
I imagine he's in the tomb forever in the dark. But yeah, that'll be cool. Looking forward to getting back to Hester's Mill and getting back to our usual crew.
Yeah, that's my wish. My wish is I hope we're able to like work Tekla and Jeffrin back into the story down the road. Maybe not right away, but like it could be a fun callback, you know, in session 20 or whatever. I really like, because the incursion does, I put you all on the spot a lot today, like in terms of think of a creepy story, tell me a dream, tell me this, tell me that. And you all did a really good job of like just reacting and giving something really good, you know, like it always felt like, you know, really coherent with what was going on. It was creepy, it was thematic, and it was stuff that I could twist around and play with to reincorporate into the story. And so yeah, so just bravo to everybody being so nimble and contributing in that way. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed the rapid descent of the group, and you know, I mean, that was like it really did truly feel like a little side story in the main story, which is what it should be. And I had that good feeling, and I think it really felt that way because it was so it descended so quickly, and we just got to like kind of in a way, it was almost like the forest like introducing itself as a character. It was the forest saying, I'm a character in the story too, and this is how you're going to learn about me, right, when I kill these people, you know. And so yeah, I really loved all that. I think it just fits so nicely into the overall narrative. I love the Scoundrels Quarter rules that for every treasure hunter that is lost, you that lowers the ruin by 1. Right, so like it's a really interesting like little thing about it, which is fun. I love the little kind of standoff between Tharakas and Bana. I loved the scenes with, you know, of I love the lighter scenes in the Scoundrels Quarter. It always kind of feels like home, and I think that's good. Like it feels like the characters are at home. The stakes are low, and it's just, you know, kind of bopping around and doing festivals and all that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed all that as well. Yeah, and I'm excited to see you know, well, what's about to happen in the scene with Malkuth, but also I've you know, going back to Hester's Mill. It's an old friend, so that'll be fun.
I can't believe Bernard got away with not getting held down and tattooed forcibly.
Yeah, I think there was like
definitely thought that was coming.
There was initial like thought of that, but I also kind of feel like Tharakas is one of those characters who like has a lot of like, as these characters are developing, these like bestiary keepers, they are like, it almost like kind of feels like it's just like a sort of like just like a little like fraternity almost, you know, like it's unclear like how much they're really contributing, you know, or are they just like so like wrapped up in their little traditions and rituals, and what really happens is people just talk to each other and tell each other about the monsters that are found, right? But having said that, though, one of them at least was very aware of the sacrifices that took place in the forest, and so they must have some kind of insider power, which is kind of intriguing. So I don't know, but yeah, But I guess that's all just to say, I don't think that they're really like those kind of characters, right? It's more just like, it's kind of like the jock's giving you a hard time, it's kind of that vibe.
I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying that kind of tension there. That
Yeah.
Bernard thinks he's kind of getting away with it, and probably is smirking a little bit behind their back. But
yeah,
it's probably going to backfire on him.
yeah. We'll see. Any other stars or wishes? Okay, well then let's wave goodbye.